Joseph, the first question I want to ask is, after beating Derek earlier this year, why did you decide to take on the rematch?
We said to Derek after the first fight that we will give him a rematch since it was a close fight, and a lot of people thought it could have went either way. I watched the fight back, and I feel I won the fight. He didn't watch the fight back, but he feels he won the fight. So I feel this is the perfect opportunity to show what we've been working on, show the improvements, show that I can beat him a lot better than I did the first time, and that's the reason why we took the rematch.
In the minutes following that first fight, you felt it was narrow, you felt you'd won it, but when you look back on it now, having seen it again recently, do you feel like it was a bit more conclusive than that?
I feel like I got the edge, and I did more than him to win. I mean, he came out strong, and he came out quick, but I think I picked it up before halfway onto the end of the fight. There's a lot of opportunities that I had to finish him off, which I didn't take. Not sure why I punched myself for that, but I feel with this fight there's going to be no holding back, and when the opportunity presents itself to take him out, I will take him out.
Do you feel like you need to make a statement in this fight?
Every fight you need to make a statement, and I've said many times I will fight better, and it hasn't really shown yet. And that comes down to a lot of factors. We'll go into it. There's no excuses. Once you have a fight locked in, you train, you're supposed to be ready for the fight. And I feel this next fight, I've had a longer training camp with Andy. I've been working on things back home by myself when I was in New Zealand, and I feel everything has come together a lot better than it did with the first camp, the initial 5 weeks that we had together.
It was mentioned during the press conference, and you just said there only 5 weeks you had with Andy Lee. You've had a long time working with him now. What areas have you looked to work on in particular?
There's a lot of things. It's footwork, there's movement, there's defense, offense. I think working with Andy, I have to really start from the beginning again and work on just the basics. Sometimes you forget the basics when you reach the top. You sort of go away from the basics, but that's the most important things that you need.
You've made some huge sacrifices to be here, training in the UK, away from your family, but do you feel like you're really reaping the benefits from being here, working with Tyson in the last few days, working with Tommy Fury as well? A lot of energy in that camp, I imagine.
It's a great camp to be in. A lot of energy in the camp. You have, Tommy Fury, Jason Quigley, Isaac, Tyson Fury, Andy, myself, Johnny Ward, David Naika. There's a big team there, and a great team to be around, and everyone's feeding off everyone's energy. Everyone has a big fight, coming up, so we're all working hard towards our fights. And I know it's hard to be away from my wife and kids and parents, siblings, but these are the sacrifices you need to make in order to be champ. And I will get to see them. They will fly up here, maybe before the fight, maybe after the fight, but for the time being, I'm going to be very focused on the job ahead, and that's what I need to do.
Were you always focused on having the rematch? Because Joe Joyce is the number one with the WBO. He called you out, but you decided not to take on that challenge.
David Higgins, my manager, was working on the fights that were presented, and Chisora was the only fight that we had for a while. I think we already agreed to the Chisora fight, and then Joe Joyce and them came along, so it was pretty much, we're sort of stuck. And I guess it's the fight that when I need, like I said, I have to show the improvements that I from the first fight. And if I can't look better, and if I can't win in better fashion and be more dominant, then I have to really look at myself and see where I stand in boxing.
I want to ask you about the heavyweight scene in general. You've been working with Tyson a lot recently. Andy said up on stage you'd never fight Tyson, but do you think we'll see Tyson fight again? Do you think he's got that hunger to keep going next year?
Listen, you never know what's going on with Tyson. One day he's going to fight, one day he's not going to fight, one day he wants to spend time with his family, one day he wants to train hard and join camp. So I feel like he's still got a lot to give the sport. He's at the top of he's at the top of the sport. He's a champion of the world, and I feel he has a lot more fight to give, but that comes down to him and how long he wants to be involved in boxing still.
And in terms of Anthony Joshua, I wanted to ask you about him because he's been out in America working with a number of different trainers, and you made that really tough decision to leave Kevin Barry. You worked with him for several years. As a boxer, what goes through your mind when you're deciding what you're going to do with your coaching setup?
It's a very hard decision to make, especially when I was with Kevin for 8 years. So, Joshua was with his coach through the amateurs and the professional, am I right? And so I think it's one of those decisions where you don't, as loyal people, it's very hard to make, but then you have to think about yourself and how long you have in the sport and what you can give the sport, and it's always nice to learn from others. So it was a hard decision to make, but I'm very happy with the decision. I still get along well with Kevin. I went to Vegas for the Fury fight, stayed with Kevin and his wife and the family, look after me, but I think for Joshua it'll be very hard for him. It must have been very hard to make the decision, but I feel like he's made the right decision because you never know what's out there and who can help you with your career.
And what changes do you think he needs to make inside the ring in that rematch?
Listen, I know he knows the changes he needs to make for the rematch. You know, he needs to work on a lot of things, and I feel with a different coach, with a different view on how to train him and what to work on, that he can come up with a better game plan to fight Usyk in a rematch.
And just finally, I've seen a video of Tommy Fury and Tyson training this morning. What do you make of Tommy's chances in this huge fight against Jake Paul? It's a massive opportunity for him at this stage of his career, but it's a fight he simply can't afford to lose, can he?
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity for Tommy. Jake, he's been working hard behind closed doors. He's been putting in the work and training hard and preparing for the fight. He's had some good wins, and everyone's, all the YouTube followers and everyone around the world wants to tune in to watch this fight. It's going to be a big fight. Tommy has to win, and he's looking good.
And coming back to you, you beat Chisora in December. What next for you?
Beat Chisora in December, celebrate Christmas, maybe here, maybe back in New Zealand if I can get back, and lock in another fight as soon as I can. As a fighter, you want to keep busy, and if I can lock in plenty more fights as soon as I can, then I'll be a very happy fighter.
And you truly believe you can be a two-time world champion?
I truly believe that, truly.